The first time I saw her, I didn't know she was an alien. She looked human enough, tall, composed, her movements deliberate in a way that suggested discipline rather than stiffness. Her skin carried a faint, pearlescent sheen beneath the lights of the orbital council chamber, but I chalked that up to stress, or maybe my own nerves. After all, it wasn't every day that a linguistics analyst like me was summoned to translate for a delegation from beyond the Kepler Gate. The room itself was a cathedral of glass and gravity fields. Circular, tiered seating rows around a central platform where representatives of Earth and its allied colonies waited in anxious silence. Above us, stars drifted slowly past the transparent dome, reminding everyone just how small we were. She stood at the center platform, hands folded behind her back, dark eyes scanning the chamber with quiet calculation. "This is Subject Aurelian," one of the council aides whispered into my ear. "Ambassador class. Species designation pending." I nodded, adjusting the neural translator band around my temple. My task was simple in theory: listen, interpret, and relay. But the moment her gaze met mine, something tightened in my chest. She wasn't just observing the room. She was reading it. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and melodic, layered with harmonics the translator struggled to flatten into human speech. "We come in response to your signal," she said, "and to your curiosity." A murmur rippled through the chamber. I leaned forward slightly, focusing on her syntax, her rhythm. "She says they detected our deep space probes," I translated, "and our attempt to map subdimensional corridors." The council nodded, satisfied. But she didn't look at them when she spoke. She looked at me. Over the next several hours, questions were exchanged, boundaries defined, intentions carefully danced around. She answered everything with precision, never revealing more than necessary. Yet every so often, she'd tilt her head toward me, as if gauging not just my translation, but my reaction. When the session finally adjourned, the council filed out in tense clusters, already arguing about treaties and threat levels. I remained seated, pulling off the translator band, rubbing my temples. "You hear more than you speak," her voice said behind me. I turned, startled. She stood only a few feet away now, close enough that I could see faint geometric patterns shimmering beneath her skin, like constellations trapped under glass. "Occupational hazard," I replied carefully. Her lips curved, not quite a smile, but something close. "You translated my words accurately, but your silence carried meaning." I swallowed. "What kind of meaning?" "That you were listening to what I did not say." That should have unsettled me. Instead, it intrigued me. The following days blurred into a rhythm of private translation sessions, cultural briefings, and long conversations that went far beyond my official role. The council insisted on observers, but she tolerated them only briefly before requesting one-on-one discussions, always with me. Her name, I learned, was untranslatable. The closest approximation my mind could manage was a layered concept, the one who stands between stars and choices. For simplicity, she allowed me to call her Aurelia. She explained her species was not new to spacefaring civilizations, but new to us. They didn't conquer worlds. They evaluated them, emotionally, psychologically, ethically, before deciding whether contact would be beneficial or catastrophic. "You judge us," I said during one late session. She tilted her head. "We listen to you. Judgment comes later." Our conversations drifted from politics to philosophy, from technology to memory. She asked about love, not as a biological impulse, but as a human contradiction. "You build weapons capable of unmaking stars," she said once, "yet your art is filled with longing." I laughed softly. "We're complicated." "Yes," she agreed. That is what makes you dangerous. And fascinating. It was during these talks that I began to notice the silences between us growing heavier. Charged. When she looked at me, I felt seen. Not evaluated. Not analyzed. Understood. I tried to remind myself she wasn't human. That whatever bond one felt was likely an illusion, a projection. But illusions don't make your pulse race. The turning point came during the third council assembly. The chamber was fuller than before. Military advisors lined the upper tiers. Security drones hummed softly in the air. Aurelia stood once again at the center platform. "We have reached a conclusion," she announced. "Our collective has determined that humanity stands at a threshold." I translated, my voice steady despite the tension knotting my stomach. "You may advance," she continued, "or you may be contained." The word echoed like a gunshot. Contained. "What does that mean?" a counselor demanded. Aurelia's gaze flicked to me, and for the first time, I sensed hesitation. "It means," she said slowly, "that your expansion would be limited, your access to certain regions denied, for your protection and that of others." The room erupted. Accusations, protests, threats. I translated mechanically, my thoughts racing. This was it. First contact collapsing into fear. Then someone shouted from the upper tier, "Why should we trust you?" Silence followed. Aurelia inhaled, an unnecessary gesture, I suspected, but a meaningful one. "Because I have listened to one of you," she said. Every head turned toward me. My heart pounded. "He speaks for your kind without conquest in his voice," she continued. "Without hunger, without deception." The chamber buzzed. "And yet," a general sneered, "you expect us to believe this isn't manipulation?" Aurelia looked at me again. Something passed between us, an unspoken question. I stood before I fully realized what I was doing. "My name is Elias," I said, my voice carrying in the chamber. "And I believe her." Gasps rippled outward. "She's not here to rule us," I continued. "She's here because she cares about outcomes, not dominance. And if she wanted us gone, we wouldn't be having this conversation." The room fell quiet. Aurelia stepped closer to me, her presence commanding. "Elias," she said softly. And without planning it, without strategy or translation, I spoke from the place I'd been avoiding since the first day. "She was an alien," I said, my voice trembling. "Then I called her love." The word hung in the air. The room went silent. No murmurs. No drones. Even the stars beyond the dome seemed to pause. Aurelia's eyes widened. Not in shock, but in something far deeper. Recognition. In that moment, I understood the risk I'd taken. I'd crossed every protocol, blurred every boundary, declared something that couldn't be retracted. Security shifted uneasily. Counselors whispered urgently. Aurelia raised one hand. Silence returned instantly. "Love," she repeated, tasting the word as if it were both fragile and immense. "You define it as connection beyond utility." "Yes," I said quietly. "Choice, despite difference." She turned to the council. "You fear us because we are not like you," she said. "Yet this human has offered something without leverage." Her gaze softened as she looked back at me. "My people have searched millennia for proof that emotional variance does not lead inevitably to annihilation," she continued. "This is proof." The chamber felt impossibly small now. "We will not contain you," Aurelia announced. "We will walk beside you. Slowly. Carefully." Relief crashed over me like a wave. Later, long after the council had adjourned and the chamber emptied, we stood alone beneath the drifting stars. "You changed the trajectory of two species today," she said. I laughed weakly. No pressure. She stepped closer. Your word, love. It is not spoken lightly among my kind. I know, I said. I didn't expect you to return it. She reached out, her fingers hovering just above mine. I do not yet understand all its meanings, she said, but I choose to learn. Her touch was warm.
Human.
Alien. Perfectly, impossibly both. As the stars continued their silent journey beyond the glass, I realized something profound. The universe hadn't gone silent because of fear. It had gone silent to listen.